Hello everyone. In this topic, we'll discuss about Zero Trust model. Zero Trust is a security model to protect resources with worst case scenario expectation. Zero Trust assumes breach at the outset and then verifies each request as though it originated from an uncontrolled network. So basically, Zero Trust is a security strategy. It is not a service or product which you will be able to create in Azure Cloud. So you need to remember always, Zero Trust is not a service or a product. It is just a framework. It is just a model which you can apply to your organization security policy. Microsoft highly recommends to use the Zero Trust security model in your organization. So there are very important guiding principle of Zero Trust security model. So these three guiding principles are: verify explicitly. So basically it means always authenticate and authorize based on all available data points. Unless you authenticate and authorize, you will not be provided the access. Next is use least privilege access. Limit users' access with just in time, just enough access, and risk based adaptive policies and data protection. In the previous video, we have already discussed about role based access control. So we provide access to certain services or resources. For example, if I provide read access to the blob, I will provide read access only to this specific blob. I will not provide read access to the container. I will not even provide read access at the storage account. If I wanted to provide read access to the virtual machine, I will provide read access to the virtual machine. I will not provide read access to the resource group. So this is basically to limit the access to the user so that only the access which is required to the user to perform any action, only those permissions are given, not more than that. So that is using least privilege access. Always assume breach, minimize blast radius and segment access, verify end-to-end encryption, use analytics to get visibility, drive threat detection, and improve the defenses. Let us say we have some services running on the Azure cloud, and this is the virtual network. We have created some subnets here. There are some applications. It's a 3-tier application which is running. So this is the first tier, this is the second tier, and this is the third tier. Let us say there is a threat, there is a breach of security, and there is a threat detected. To control the threat, we need to minimize the blast radius. If we are able to contain this particular threat at the virtual network level, we are limiting the blast radius. So we are not allowing the threat to come into the virtual network and pass through this entire subnet. We have limited the threat at this particular virtual network level. There are two types of encryption. One, data in transit. So there is data in transit encryption, and the other one is data in rest. Data in rest. Data in rest is by default supported by Azure. So whenever you store any data onto the Azure storage or Azure virtual disk, so the data will be always encrypted. Whenever you transfer the data using the wire, so basically you are transferring the data using the internet or you are accessing over the network, then you have to use the secure protocols like HTTPS protocol, which is end-to-end encryption. Adjusting to zero trust, traditionally corporate networks were restricted, protected, and generally assumed safe. Zero trust does not assume that the device is safe because the device is in DMZ network. Just because the managed computers have joined the network, it doesn't mean the computers is safe. The zero trust model flips the scenario. Instead of assuming that a device is safe because it's within the corporate network, it requires everyone to authenticate. There are two diagrams here. One is classic approach and one is zero trust model approach. In the classic approach, there is a secured network and all the resources are behind the secured network. Since all these resources are behind the secured network, we should not assume that these resources are secured. What if there is an open port? So there is an open port behind this secured network and somebody comes with a laptop. You will connect to this open port and there are very critical resources which you have hosted behind the secured network. Let us say there are some databases, and with the help of open port, if this is a rogue laptop and if it is able to scan the networks and the services which are hosted behind the firewall or behind the secured network, we have a serious issue of data breach in this scenario. Whereas in zero trust model, the zero trust model expects authentication first. It doesn't matter whether you are in the secure network, you are behind the secure network, or you are in open network. It doesn't matter. You authenticate first, then access is granted based on the authentication what you have. So this was an overview about zero trust model. Thank you for watching the video. If you like the content, please subscribe and share the video. Thank you and take care.